technical day. All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the regularly scheduled Board of Education for Monday, December 9th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a real flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you to whoever provided the flag. Will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Borchers?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Fox?
Here.
Mrs. Packard?
Here.
Mr. Reddick?
Here.
I'd like to have a moment of silence for Larry Giangilio, who passed away on November 13th of this year at the age of 79. He was known to students and staff as Mr. G. He spent many years as a guidance counselor at Troy High School, helping thousands of seniors apply for college and the military and explore other options after their high school careers. He also was an assistant football coach, junior varsity golf coach, and varsity golf coach at Troy. Thank you. Next, we have the board committees. Teresa or Levi on the Upper Valley?
At the last Upper Valley board meeting, we did a tour of their early education, their early childhood education facilities, which, I mean, what an amazing opportunity for these students that want to pursue that path. The tools that they are available to work through, the environment they're given. I mean, they have actual kids. They're responsible for providing daycare and preschool opportunities for children. They said a lot of what they serve are grandparents that may have responsibility for the kids to kind of give them a break because it's not a full day preschool, but they have great spaces, and then they also have a classroom space and a lab. It was just really interesting to hear these students, and then they also have opportunities to go work in a preschool setting because there are pretty rigid hours on the credentials that they need to get as they move on. So it was really interesting to see their space. And what a professional area and opportunity that our community has to utilize that space up there. Levi, was there anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, so next year will be the 50th anniversary for Upper Valley Career Center in 2025. They had a logo contest for the 50th anniversary and for the students, and so one student's logo was chosen for the 50th anniversary, marketing materials and everything. So there will be a lot going on next year. We don't have the exact dates on open houses type things, but I'm sure we'll certainly be sharing that with everyone if you want to attend any of the functions up there for the 50th years.
Will their construction be done by then?
I don't know. I'm not for sure where they'll stand on that. I think the goal is to have it done by a lot of stuff by the start of the school year, but I don't know, honestly.
Because it'd be a great time to showcase their new building.
Yeah, if possible, I'm sure that maybe they'll postpone it till after the construction's done. But like the adult nursing program, that's up here at out there by Crystal Room and whatnot for a year. So because we're utilizing that space for construction, so I think it might be done by the end of or opening of next school year. So we'll keep everybody updated on that for sure. Also, the Honor Society. There was 7 Troy students named on the Career Center National Honor Society as well. And also my term is up. So the Career Center terms are 3 years. So this is my 3rd year there. So my term expires at the end of this calendar year here. So in January, we'll need to nominate the next person, whether it's me again or any other board member or anyone else. That'll be on our agenda for January. So certainly I enjoy my time up there. I'd like to stay on again, but that'll be on our agenda the next time. So 3-year term, that'll be for someone 2025, 26, and 2027.
All right. For the Troy Hayner, hopefully you all get a chance to visit. They had their open house. They had the Children's Day on Saturday and the open house for the Christmas decorations on Sunday. It is absolutely gorgeous, as always. Every room is decorated by an individual. So it's a great time, if you're not familiar with the Hayner, to go in and just look around. It's a beautiful facility. So that's always something I look forward to. They also have a concert scheduled. Shoot, I didn't write the date down. It's coming up too, if you want to go and listen to their annual concert. I think it's on Saturday. Okay, board policies update.
I think we're gonna flip them. Mine's pretty boring, so let's do the exciting one first.
I agree.
Okay.
Alexis?
So, yes, we're gonna, Mrs. Diedrich, do you want to introduce the topic and who's here to talk to us tonight?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. So we have, Mr. Hughes is here to represent for our Pathways program. So last month, you guys heard from the junior high, and we had asked like what kinds of things are available, so it was a perfect segue. So Mr. Hughes is here. Mr. Hughes teaches history for us, but he is also our Pathways coordinator, and so he's going to introduce the program, and then he brought some students and a teacher along that I'll let him kind of take the lead on that. But Jeremy does a phenomenal job as a teacher leader in our school with the program, so I'm excited to have him share today.
Nice to meet you guys, see you again. Just a brief overview, the Pathways program is a targeted program within our district in the high school. It's designed to provide a supportive and structured environment for the high school students requiring additional academic, behavioral, and social emotional assistance. This program seeks to empower students to succeed in high school and beyond by addressing unique needs holistically. Typically, we have around the sweet spot, probably no more than about 44 to 50 kids per class, freshmen and sophomores. Right now, we have currently 39 freshmen, and we have 36 sophomores in our program. Our purpose and philosophy, biggest thing, and I think that's the biggest role that I have within these kids, is building a relationship. Ms. Dietrich says, yes, I am a great, she says I'm a good teacher, but I think I'm a better relationship builder than anything. So my idea is to foster those strong, positive connections between students and adult, and just provide a supportive presence for them throughout their whole entire day. I teach 2 classes a day, that's 5th and 7th period, and the remainder of that day, it's to allow me to facilitate and help the kids as well as the teachers in the program. Provide student report. I equip the teachers with the tools and strategies to engage the students who are sometimes, we said, the most challenging to reach. And we try to, what I say by most challenging, it's the demographic of population of the kids is sometimes, it was like, I mean, to be honest with you completely, sometimes in school I was one of them. I didn't always like to come to school, but it was some of that thing that I had to do. I might have had some struggles with teachers or anything, but it's just providing them with some focus to celebrate those and have them success while they are here in school, obviously for the first 2 years. We celebrate their achievements and progress regularly. Every week we do some raffles for the kids that gets prizes. Every quarter we do rewards as well. We have go to the gym and do some things like that. We go through and also some of the raffles, we do monthly raffles and quarterly raffles. Obviously the bigger the prize, the bigger the day, the bigger the prizes would be. Prevention-oriented liaison. Again, I also act as that bridge between the students and the administration, trying to minimize as much disciplinary actions that might disturb the learning. So if kids is having a bad day, typically a teacher would call me or something and say, hey, can you come over here and chat with so-and-so? They're kind of struggling. Typically, they'll be able to come to my room. We can talk about what's going on. And the majority of the time, we are able to get through and resolve those problems and get them through all their day. Workforce preparation. Develop academic and life skills to prepare the students for future success and including career readiness. I think this is one of the things that we need to do a better job of focusing on, to be completely honest with you. And once we get those kids identified, knowing that they were probably going to the Career Center, trying to build a better curriculum here in the high school to get them ready to enter the Career Center. Some of our features, basically our daily routines and student engagement. This is what I do. Again, I proactively monitor the hallways, checking for student attendance, ensuring everybody's in class and participating. Regular check-ins with the students. Again, every day, almost every single class, that I'm checking in and touching base with them. The majority of the time, some of the time it feels like that I'm just dropping off snacks to them or something. I even have a nickname called Snack Santa, but dropping off snacks because, again, this is sometimes if they don't get a lot of sleep sometimes, or they're just hungry throughout the day, and I provide waters or crackers with them just to help them monitor and get them through the best of their day, the best of the ability that they can. They have a built-in intervention period that's dedicated to personalized academic support and some behavior management. We don't really touch on, again, the behavior management as much as we need to. I will take ownership for that one. But the academic support for our sophomores, they have a study hall built in the first period of the day, and the freshmen have it 6th period of the day. The teachers, we have a Google form that we fill out, and I get all this information throughout the day of who needs to go where. And again, that's one of the things that I logistically set them to where they need to go during 6th period and then the 1st period, and then I go in and check on them so they can get their grades up as well as getting credits. Utilization of a referral and intervention tracking, that's kind of basically what I just talked about. We have a Google form that we use, and the teachers send me that throughout the day. And again, that lets me know behavior issues, if there is any. Again, that's positive and negative behaviors and what the kids are missing in school. Personalized following up with students who are struggling academically and or behaviorally. Again, that's just that big piece of me being able to be free and being able to roam throughout the day. So I do appreciate that, that we have that ability for me. And then collaboration with the teachers to ensure a timely and effective response to the classroom challenges. Again, I always have my phone on me, so as soon as I get I'm moving a lot. I am in my room, but again, I am also in and out of my room a lot, just to be able to have access to the teachers when they need me. And I feel like me being in the room as much as I can and visible as the kids is that key piece of me building those positive relationships with them. We recognize academic progress and positive behaviors, again, through the ceremonies, rewards, and raffles. Every month we have Student of the Month. Every quarter we do, again, in the TAC, we do some reward systems. B-Dubs gives us free wings to pass out to people. We've had free smoothies from Tropical Smoothie and things like that. So the businesses do get behind us and what we are doing too as well. And we appreciate that. We also have academic rewards for their perfect attendance as well as their GPAs. Again, that's what I was talking about, the partners with the local businesses. We also are very thankful for the Troy Foundation. They give us a $1,000 grant so I can get all those crackers and water for the kids. Selection of these kids. So the majority of this information is data-driven throughout the EVOS data, and I'll get the historical grades all the way up from 6th grade to their that first semester of junior high. So the process is about to start ramping up right now on how we identify those kids who were low test scores, who had low test scores historically and historically low grades. The majority of the kids who were in Brad Rolf's STARS program and the CBI program do enter our program unless they are on IEPs. We are not a special education program, so if they do receive other services, they do not come into the Pathways program. We regularly assess the program effectiveness and adjust the rosters to maintain the optimal environment for student growth. Typically, the freshmen, we do get some, again, with those early numbers, we like to keep the class sizes small, again, so that teachers can focus on those kids a little bit better than having a large classroom to have. So again, that allows us to play with some numbers too as well. So if there was somebody that we might have missed or a move-in or something, I do get recommendations, probably, I would probably say up into the first quarter, recommendations from teacher recommendations that we might have missed, saying, hey, could you look into this student? They might be a possible Pathways student. They can graduate too as well as the Pathways program. Typically, that's another thing, we at least give them a full year to see how they progress, and if their grades are they're just rocking it, getting straight A's the whole time, an entire year, and they don't see a path that they necessarily want to go to the Career Center. We do talk with the teachers regularly and see if they would be able to graduate throughout the program. Their outcome and goals is, again, we want to increase student engagement and their academic performance. We are doing a great job of getting these kids to pass their EOCs as well. The geometry test it's a bear, but they're breaking those down. They have homework groups every week. Every single one of the kids has at least meets with their geometry teacher once a week for those homework groups, and then that starts to ramp up with the EOCs. They do test again in a smaller environment, so they would be partially with me and then partially with those teachers as well. It'd be the same thing for American History. There's American History EOC as well, so they will have study groups for that, again, during that first period intervention for them. Preparation for students to transition to the UVCC or the workforce as a responsible, skilled individual. I believe last year it was over 90% of our sophomores got into the Career Center. This year we just have, out of the 39 students, there's 38 of them who have currently signed up and applied for the Career Center. The 39th one has just been absent, so as soon as he gets back, we will have them signed up. And then the key thing is getting them preparation to track to graduate on time. Extracurricular activities. We do encourage our students to engage in extracurricular activities here within the high school. This gives them an opportunity to be a part of teams or clubs while giving them another positive outlet. Some of the current activities are, we have the young lady who is an archery, we have some band members, we have two in student government, we have some basketball, football, wrestlers, and then we have varsity gymnastics too. And I can't do anything without this fantastic staff that takes care of these kids on a daily basis. Celinda Riggs teaches English, Mark Eagle-Sizer's World Studies, Mark Cass is Algebra, and then Jay Cannell is Physical Science, and then our sophomore teachers, Brittany Baker, Brian Gray, Brian Huelskamp, and Jason McGarren. And some of the key things that I would say about this staff is one, they enjoy working together and they love these kids to death. And we do, I would say some of the cream of the crop from this staff. I mean, Mark Cass does an awesome job with them. Brittany Baker does, not only does she teach pathway sections, but she teaches the CCP for English. Brian Huelskamp has done the same thing. He's taught honors geometry as well as the pathways geometry. Jason McGarren is also our strength and conditioning coach, and he likes to get them every now and then during the morning hours. Sometimes he likes to engage them, get their core going on. So sometimes he does take the kids to the weight room as well. Conclusion, Pathways program exemplifies the district's commitment to addressing the diverse needs of the students and creating a pathway to success for every learner. This is a program that reflects our mission to build strong, supportive community that prioritizes the development of future-ready students. And I think this is one of the biggest things when I came here to the high school 3 years ago that just blew my mind about this program, and it is how we just meet the needs of all of our students. And it's a fantastic program. I'd love to be a part of it. Now we're going to have Mr. Eagle-Sizer come and speak a little bit. And now I'll have some kids as well. All right. Oh, sorry. Do you have any questions for me? I apologize. Nope. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I've been waiting to brag about this program for 22 years that I've taught it. So it's nice to be here to get a chance to do this. Jeremy's my fourth coordinator. Started with Billy Joe Emmerich. Steve Becker did it for a while. Jason Scott did it for a while. And of course, Jeremy's taken over, and it's been seamless throughout. This program is, in my opinion, of course I'm biased because I've done this for so long, but there's no doubt it's the best program we have going here at the school. We address students that, if you are in a normal classroom, would be lost. No doubt about it. And I've taught every level. These are students that are amazing students. They want to be successful, but they need to be in an environment that allows them to be successful. If these students are in regular classrooms, there's things that we work on a lot. We work on organization with them. We work on people skills. We work on interpersonal relationship with each other, things of that nature. And these are students that, they're motivated in their own way, but they're not the most academic as far as I'm going to go home and do 2 hours of homework at night. And a lot of these students have a lot of stuff going on. They don't live perfect lives, and they don't have perfect families, and they don't have perfect situations. So, and a lot of these students, school is not the most important thing going on for them. And so we as educators need to realize that not every student that comes in this class, in our building, this is the most important thing to them. Some of these students, they have to be here. They have other things they need to deal with. And so that is what we do as a staff in this Pathways program that I think is the most important thing. We address their needs that they need. We meet them where they are. We give them a place to talk and be safe, communicate with each other, and that allows them to be successful. Successful doesn't mean they get A's and B's. Successful means maybe they get enough to get them to the Career Center, which is what our goal is. We are naive to think that students need to always go to college. That's what this high school is designed to do, and it is when you're a junior or senior. And that's what this school is designed to do. This program is designed for students that might not be their path. And so, getting them to the Career Center, what Jeremy said about this year's sophomores is amazing, because what we worry about as a staff is when we get those kids that don't want to go to the Career Center, we feel like we have done something wrong in that regard, because those students struggle when they stay here at high school. They just do. We provide an environment. Again, it doesn't mean that's less academic rigor per se, but we don't require the amount of work that others do. I mean, I don't require homework every week for these kids, and that allows them to be successful. Organization-wise is extremely key to that. We keep, most of us have them keep notebooks and keep their stuff in the classroom. Just bringing a pencil to school seems so minute, but let's face it, that is what happens to us on a daily basis. I don't have a pencil. Can I borrow a pencil? These sort of things. And some of it is just simply background. I love the fact that we have parents here to support their kids here tonight, because part of this program, unfortunately, is the fact that we don't get a lot of parental support. That's why these kids are in this program sometimes, is because they're not getting support at home. School is not an important factor in their lives. And so we as teachers, we have to pull that out of them, and we've got to instruct them. And and again, sometimes school is part of the process for them. It's not really the be-all, end-all. We communicate on almost a period basis with these teachers. We meet every Friday. The meetings are amazing. It gives us a chance to get on the same page. We're on the same page all the time, particularly the freshmen. I've never had a group that's, we're a school within a school. I know there's all these like catch sayings and all these things, but that's essentially what we are. We're a school within a school. So these students have the same four teachers, the same core teachers, and we do not let them play one on the other, because that's what students will do if you let them. And so if I have students first period and we're having issues with one, that my other three teachers will know that in a heartbeat. I will let them know right away. Why should I keep that? That's not secret information. They need to know that information. They need to know if they're having an issue with another student, so that it doesn't fester second period. It doesn't get worse third period. It doesn't get even worse fourth period. So we are in constant communication. We need to know from each other who's having a good day, who's having a bad day. Jeremy mentioned a lot about the positive feedback, and that's what we want these students to know. This is not a, we try to bring as much positive feedback to these kids as negative. They have enough negativity in their life. We want them to come to school and be, and again, feel needed and feel like they have some place to talk to and people to associate with. And that's really one of our main goals. You know, they're going to be successful if they feel good about themselves. So that's part of our program, part of what we try to do to bring these kids out. And again, if we can get these students to, you know, my goal every quarter is, and every semester is to have, you know, 0 Fs. Do whatever it can to get these kids to move on. We have the intervention period, which is amazing. They have the same study hall. We coordinate with Jeremy who we want, what we need them for. Jeremy does a nice job of tracking what they have missing, because again, that is not a strength of them. Their strength is not looking and checking their grades all the time and figuring out what they're missing. That's not what they do. Again, that's not always what's important to them. Is I have 4 missing assignments. Well, am I passing? Well, that's good enough. You know, and that's what we as educators have to accept, that that is okay for some of these students. You know, we want these students to be successful. That means that they get enough a percentage to get them to get that pass rate so they can move on to a career center, and that we have succeeded. You know, we want them to know that, you know, that is an option that will make them successful. Will some of them go to college? Sure, and that's great. We've had some that have done that route, but for the most part, the career center is where we're trying to steer them towards. And that's where they're going to be successful. They're going to find something. I mean, you know, learning history is probably not something that they go home thinking about. They don't go home thinking about algebra. But they go home thinking about what it is that they need to be successful, and we are a means to get there. We are a means to get their credits, to get to a place where they can be successful. They can find a skill that allows them to be successful. You know, Jeremy puts out so many fires during the day. You know, there's not enough credit that he can get for that. You know, if there's an issue, we want to try to use the administrators as least amount as we can. That's really our goal. You know, we don't need these kids going down and seeing Schultz and Seifring. If they are, something major's happened in which they have no other choice. We want to deal with these kids in-house. They trust us. They like us. They trust Mr. Hughes. They have a relationship with Mr. Hughes. And so that is where we go all the time. If there's an issue, it's not send them to the office. It's go see Mr. Hughes, and let's see if we can diffuse this matter. And again, so that they, again, are successful. We want these kids to be in school. You know, this program is not designed for troublemakers. It's not designed to kids that have a big track record. That's not what this program is designed for. And we try to squelch those type of things. There's expectations we give them from the beginning at their freshman year that we hope will carry on. You know, this is my first job. I've done, most of the time I was always sophomores, and, you know, I did take for granted of how much growth there is between the freshman year and sophomore year. Because, man, these last 2 years have been an eye-opener for me in this program. I've done this for years. So, you know, what we can do with them as freshmen to get them to the sophomores, man, it's work. You know, there's no doubt about it. We get in our meetings, man, we're exhausted. You know, we meet on Fridays and we air out laundry and we talk about what we need to talk about. Some of it's just, you know, what do you need to survive and what do you need, you know, positive feedback and things of that nature. But, you know, that's part of the program. We want these kids to be successful, but we need to be on the same page to do that. So we are always communicating with each other. We're always communicating first with Jeremy, so he knows exactly what's going on. He hears something from parents or something he thinks we need to know. We know right away. And that's what we try to do. You're going to hear some things that these young men and women are going to say, and you know, these are amazing students. I'll be honest, I teach every level. I've taught honors. I teach pathways. These are my most, let's see, how do I want to word this? These are the students that come back and see me the most. They come back and hang out in my room. They are maybe the most loyal students I have. They're just amazing. They understand at the time they don't, because they're immature. That's what they are when they're freshmen and sophomores and such. But they understand later that, man, they knew what they were doing. And I'm glad we trust them. I'm glad we're a part of this program, because I'm going to get somewhere someday. And it was because of the support that we had here. You know, and it's not that the other teacher we have wouldn't be effective, but you know, there's a reason why these students are in here. There's a reason why they have 4 teachers that all share this. They would, again, oftentimes these would be students that just simply wouldn't do much work. And as teachers, man, it's hard to hone on those kids in a regular classroom. They would probably, they would fail, they would slide through. They wouldn't be problems in other classrooms. They wouldn't be troublemakers, but they would just kind of slide through and just try to hide. And that's not what we want from this group. We want these groups to excel and to find who they are. So that's what this program allows them to do. Who are they? They love, this is kind of interesting. They hang out with each other. They usually date each other because they're safe with each other. It's a group that they enjoy, they like being with. Not that they don't do in other parts. We encourage them to be in extracurricular activities and all these things. But again, without this program, we would not see a graduation rate that we have. It just wouldn't happen. And so, again, I could talk about this forever. If you know me, I can't talk a long time, so I'm going to try to end this here shortly. But, it is an amazing program. Amazing teachers. Again, I've been through so many of these as far as teachers. And again, it's just a unique group. Not everybody can teach these types of students. Some people love that higher end, which is great. I love the fact that I do both. I get a little bit of everything. And again, they're very unique kids. They want to be successful, but they don't know how to be successful. And that's our job. That's what we do. That's why we focus on them. That's why we're in their grill. I think as freshmen, that's the biggest thing I've learned is that, they come to the high school or they're not quite sure what's going on. And man, we don't let them breathe wrong. I mean, we're in their grill. We want them to be successful. So, they're missing an assignment. We're going to let them know. And that they're not used to that. They're used to just kind of floating around and doing what they need to do. And some of us said, "I've never been taught before." Well, you're getting taught now. So that's kind of our goal. We want these students to realize that they're important, that they're just as important as anybody else. That they can be successful. It doesn't mean they're going to get A's and B's. It doesn't mean they're going to college. That's not what makes you successful. We're going to get you to a spot where you can be successful. Pick what you want to do. Find what your dream is. Find what you want to be successful at. And if we can do that, man, we've done our job. And Jeremy, man, he's come over and just done just a fascinating, just amazing job. He is really good at getting kids, calming them down, figuring out what their needs are, what they need, getting them back in the classroom as soon as possible. He does spend some time, getting, snacks and things, but let's face it, I mean, sometimes that's what these kids are eating. They don't eat anything until we give them something, until they get to lunch or until they get to school. And so if that's what it takes to get them to be successful, to give them crackers and give them some water, man, I hope you have no problem keep giving us money for those type of kids. So, man, they're amazing. Love this program. I hope you continue to support it. I'll keep doing this until I'm done. I've bought into it. I think it's fantastic. I just don't have anything negative to say about this. So, again, if you have any questions, again, I've done this for quite a while, so I would love to answer some questions. Yeah.
In a minute or less. I'm sorry. I like to talk to you.
Yeah.
But do you feel your experience as a coach helps you with this program?
I think so. I mean, if you notice, there's quite a few. I mean, Coach Sass and Jeremy. I do. I think it helps us kind of, teaching. Coaching is teaching.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about being a coach, you got to figure out how to get the best out of each individual player you have. That's what we can do in this program. If we had 25 kids in a classroom, we can't do that.
So you coach these children the same way you coach on the athletic field, and that's a compliment. I mean,
not
you
necessarily,
coach
but
my
yeah,
son. I know how you coach.
Yeah.
So you apply that similar.
Definitely.
I would say. So there's not really a soft, and I'm just genuinely interested. So it's not really a soft approach. It is like.
Oh, I'm in there.
So you're all in, just like you coach on the field.
Like
Okay.
they better be ready.
Yeah. I know.
I think that happens in our classroom. And there's nowhere to hide. I mean, when you have a classroom of 12 kids, where are you gonna hide? If I've got questions, you're going to answer my question. And that's the part of it. I think that's what makes them eventually come out of their shell and be successful. Because if they're in a regular classroom, they're going to hide. They're going to let Johnny answer the question because Johnny knows what he's talking about all the time. Or they're going to Susie answer all the questions because Susie's really smart. So I'm gonna rely on them to answer the questions. Well, in this program, man, there's nowhere to hide. So I'm gonna pull something out of you. This idea of I don't know, or man, that just doesn't fly. So, and I think that's what makes this program successful, because we can pull things out of these students that they don't really want to be pulled. And so we get them out of their comfort zone, and I think that will make them a better student in the long run.
I have another question for either of you, actually. Have we tracked them once they get into the Career Center, wherever they go, to know we're being effective and, you know, that they're able to continue on and be successful in the next junior or senior level?
In my 3 years, no, we haven't, no. So, I mean, and that's gonna be, again, one of the things that we're looking for in this program. Like I said, of getting them more career ready to actually even go to the Career Center. So no, as soon as they leave our doors, no, I don't have any access to them. And to be completely honest with you, outside of the career, the guidance counselors keeping me up on the kids who don't go to the Career Center. As soon as they're juniors, they're gone for me.
Okay. It would just be
Corey's
nice to
got-
know,
yeah.
once they got to the Career Centers, that your techniques.
There was a state initiative, mandate, whatever rolls down that you wanna call it, last year. So, we guidance counselors were required to get in touch with the previous graduating class to see where they were. Paul Dell, which was on, like medical leave, so he actually did that for all of us. I'm not exactly sure what all of the results were.
Yeah.
Those were never shared with us.
Yeah.
But that class.
Yeah, I guess I was looking for more informal, that's to
Well,
say is,
what I can tell you is that we have our graduation rate, and then who graduates from there.
Right.
We occasionally have students who come back from the Career Center, who, for lack of better words, don't make it, through the programming there. Typically, it's attendance related because of the programs up there. In order to get certifications, you have to have so many seat hours.
okay.
So attendance is typically the reason that if a student has really poor attendance, they just wouldn't be able to successfully finish a program because of the lack of hours. So they have to come back to the high school. I don't feel like we've ever tracked which one of those students, if any of them were necessarily pathway students to begin with. But I mean, our finish rate at the Career Center is extremely high. I mean, that's just
Okay.
one, maybe two students a
Yeah.
year, coming
That's
back
true.
from the Career Center
Yeah.
who doesn't finish and graduate out of there. So
Yeah.
we haven't tracked that directly in terms of like the number of programs and what programs.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to probably get informal
Yeah.
feedback that you could follow up and say, hey, so-and-so was in our
Yep.
Pathways program, how are they doing in your program?
Right.
To know if they were, hey, they could use more X or Y.
Yeah, and I
to
think that's
see.
what Jeremy said, that that's kind of that future
Yeah, I mean,
programming.
the wheels have been turning. We got this great portrait of a graduate thing that we're working on, and building that some more curriculum again for our sophomores and our especially our freshmen, so we got that youth science stuff going on. We got a lot of stuff that we can use now that I didn't have access to prior to
true,
that year.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that'll help out a lot.
Because I suspect it's good, you know, but it's, I mean, just even you guys, you work really hard to this. It'd be nice to get some appreciation for the fact that they're going through and they're graduating and they're being successful, or even successful in the Career Center. Like, yeah, they really grasped onto whatever career you guys kind of figured out. They really grabbed it and went. So it'd be nice to know. Just, but I get it, it's hard.
It's like a segue into Adrian right there.
Yeah, here we go, let's do this.
Yeah, tell me.
Hello, my name is Jabari Harper, and I was for my freshman and sophomore year an attendee of the Pathways program. And I do have a lot of things to say. One, it was a great program to reveal, like, I wouldn't say accomplishments, but like, let students be like, as Mr. Evilside's words, let students be successful. And what Mr. Hughes does is very, very, very amazing to how he communicates, to how he builds relationships, just to how he treats us as students. He treats us as we're adults, like his peers, as I would say. and I'm sorry if I,
You
but
did great.
it's just like his mentorship, his guidance, his leadership. It's like, I don't know, I've never seen or came across it as no other. He's like one of a kind, I say. Mr. Hughes is like, he's one teacher I will always remember for like the help he always gave, that like just everything. Everything he's done for this program, this Pathways program, is amazing. And I would very, very much appreciate if, like, I don't know, it's just everything he's done, this man has done. Just look at this man, and he's done everything. Like, this man is the GOAT. So, all in all, it's a great
Tell them where
program.
you are now.
Yeah, what do you think now?
Oh, yeah, I do go to the Upper Valley Career Center, and I am attending the building maintenance program. It gives you the Pathways program. It gives you a lot of gateway to that center, to the Career Center. It helps you. Mostly the teachers help you. As say, maybe like 4 or 3 missing assignments behind. They'll get on you for that because they want to see you successful. They want to see you go to the Career Center, and they want to see you do successful and be well in life.
So are you a junior in
Junior,
Upper Valley?
yes, ma'am.
And how is that going so far? I know you've
It's
already
going
started.
good. My grades, I wouldn't say I was the A and B student, straight A student, but my grades have progressed and have improved since I've left the high school and went to the Career Center. So yeah, I would say it has been going good and has
Good.
been going as I expected.
Good.
How did you decide the program? Did the Pathways program help you decide what you wanted to do
I
at
would
Upper
say
Valley?
yes.
Okay.
They really did a good job on helping me choose what program. Like they gave me a lot of opportunities, like just a handful of resources for that program that did help me and did push me to get to the point where I am now, including the teachers, including the faculty members, the staff, everything. They do an amazing job.
Awesome.
One of the, in that portfolio for the sophomores, one of the things that Mrs. Baker has them do is actually pick out one of the careers in the Career Center. I believe she makes them do 2 options of that, and then they go and research that a little bit more. It's not
Keep
a
it on.
meeting unless we necessarily.
Not in this section.
All in all, the Pathways program is a good program. I would like to see it succeed in the near future, and I do see it going a lot of good places. I do see it remaining here at the high school, and I do see it succeed. I do see it, flourish. In certain words.
That's great to hear.
Thank you.
We have, I had a couple freshmen that were going to speak as well, but we got some sickness in them, so we do have 2 sophomores as well. Let's do ladies first. Maggie Ballway.
Hi, I'm in the program for 2 years. It's been very helpful to me throughout everything that I've been through. Like honestly, I'm not gonna lie, my junior year, my junior high year, I was not one of the best students. Everybody goes through things and has their own problems, and when I came to this school and got in this program, it helped me a lot and helped me see that people actually care about me, and they don't just care about my grades and what I do, and they care about your well-being and like your mindset and how you are as a person. They don't just care about your grades and the things that reflect on your report card or any of that. Like, they actually care about you and how you're doing. I feel like this program has helped a lot of students, helped me and my friends, and it brings all of us closer together, in my opinion. I feel like he does an amazing job with all of that. He's always there for all of us. We all go through things, and we're not always all on the same page. And he helps us with everything, in my opinion. Like, there's been times I came to school, didn't really feel like being at school, but gotta do what you gotta do. And he just helps us with anything and everything that he possibly can. And I'm very thankful for you and all of you guys, and I thank you guys for bringing me here. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity. So I'm loving it, and I really feel like this program has definitely changed me as a person. I feel like it's made me more mature, honestly, and Mr. Eaglesizer, he was one of the best teachers I've ever had. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I had him first period, and I was always like, oh my gosh, this is so much. Honestly, it helped me. It really did. It helped me so much. If you're super tired, you want someone to help you and push you and do the things that you know you can do, but you won't be able to do those things without that one person to push you and help you and do the things that you know you're capable to do, but you're not going to be able to do that without somebody to help you and push you and know that people actually care about you and that you're not the only one. There are other people out there who possibly going through the same things. If not, then everybody goes through things, and I know that as experience. There's been multiple times where I've just not been feeling school. Who does? Let's be honest. I love school, and I've always loved school, but being a teenager and growing and everything's changing, especially with at home, not everybody has like the mindset of like school this, school that. Like we all have our own mindsets and everything that we have to do inside school and outside school, and I just feel like it gives you a great opportunity to become the person that you know you can be. You know, like I feel like I wouldn't be the person I am today without this program. I feel like it's brought me to see the perspective of other people and just other like environments. Like I do agree that if I were in a regular classroom, I would try to hide, and I'm gonna be totally honest, I definitely would. I'm just not one of those people to be out there and just speak. But this program has helped me to know I'm capable of more than what I put myself out there to be. And I'm very thankful for this program, and I really, truly hope that it stays in Troy, because it's helping me and so many of people that I know, and it's just, I'm very thankful for it, and I really hope it stays here. And thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. So do you know what you want to look at the Career Center?
Veterinary tech
Okay.
or digital art and design, but since I was a little kid, I've always loved animals, so hopefully vet tech, which I'm very excited about.
That sounds fun.
And Ms. Baker, she is awesome. She definitely helped me choose that. Not that she like put that on to me, but she helps you open your eyes to like other things, and like the essays that we do, which I love writing. I love writing so much. When we do write, she just helps you like open your eyes to like every other possibility, not just like veterinary tech, but like other things that you can get out of that career, or like that little area of school. And I don't know, I'm just very thankful for Mr. Hughes and all of my teachers and my past teachers. And I feel like this program is just awesome. And I just feel like it's helped make a difference.
You're a junior right now, right?
I'm a sophomore.
Oh, sophomore, I'm sorry,
But you're
sophomore.
okay.
What year was your most awkward year in school, where you felt like you were really spiraling backwards?
I'd say my 8th grade year.
8th grade. And why is that?
Well, I had a lot of problems at home, and I feel like my 8th grade year I was definitely immature. I didn't see a lot of things that I do now, like how I'd say when I was younger, I didn't really feel like other people had the same problems, or people have problems in general. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, like I have problems and that's it. I don't have to worry about any other problems, you know what I mean? But like, it's just opened my eyes to like be more respectful, more mature, and just.
So does this feel more like a family to you?
Yes, I really feel like it does. I feel like it brings everybody closer together, and just knowing that we have these people like to hold us up and they're there for us when we need them, it's just an awesome feeling. We have those people there to know, like, if we're gonna have a bad day, that's okay. Everybody has bad days, but we have those people to help lift us up and become the people that we need to be for the future and what our future holds. Because our generation, it's gonna be you guys someday, and we're gonna need some good people and we need some good teachers to teach us how to be those people one day. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Good job.
Our last speaker is Cameron Hamilton. Cameron is one of the, I would say he was one of the additions that we had his freshman year. He was not in the program at the beginning, and due to some teacher recommendations, he did end up getting in the program, so we'll let him talk about that. Huh? We don't care about this. I'm sorry, Mr. Becker, I apologize, Mr. Becker. Mr. Becker taught a section of Pathways, World Studies last year as well, sorry. He was a one and done, but that's your buddy, so.
Yeah, make sure he knows you gave him a shout.
Yeah. Make sure he knows Mr. Hughes did. Alright, hey guys, my name's Cameron, and as Mr. Hughes already said, I joined Pathways in my freshman year. I believe it was second quarter. Yeah. First quarter, I really wasn't doing well. I'm gonna be honest, I had first period math. That was horrible. I was always sleepy in that class. No, math bores you. But not only that, but, at home, we were going through stuff, and I wasn't getting really good sleep. And my teachers tried to help me, but they couldn't help me with like my home issues. I was struggling pretty bad. I think I might have just barely passed. I don't remember. I checked my grades a while back. But when I came into Pathways, it was a new experience. It was kind of different, obviously. The teachers were definitely a lot more friendlier than most are. They focused on you more intently, more respectfully. I had Mr. Hughes first quarter. I mean, he was a great teacher and all, but I also struggled in his class too. When I switched, like I said, it was a different experience. I struggled a little bit. Third quarter, I got better. And then fourth quarter, I hit one of my highest grades since COVID. And this year, I had all A's and B's across the board except for C and orchestra because I missed a couple big one assignments. But these the teachers, they're there for you. They help you if you miss a day or miss an assignment. That intervention period, they sit there and help you through it. If you have any questions, you ask them, and they help you with them. Those classes, because like I said, math is always a boring subject for me. I wasn't really good at it. This year, I got a really good grade in geometry, and I think that has helped me what I wanted to do, because I went to the Career Center with my dad during the open house. I wanted to do HVAC and or pre-engineering, but he talked me into machine technologies, and then the construction maintenance. But Mr. Hughes is a great man. He's helped me. I remember there was one day specifically, I don't remember if it was this year or last year, I was like really tired. I couldn't focus in any of my classes. He brought me into his room and he let me sleep, and I ended up getting all the work that I missed done. But that sleep that he let me get, it definitely helped me in the day. And kudos to you for giving the snacks. I'm a grown boy and I'm always hungry. He's giving me snacks every now and then, giving me water when I didn't bring my water bottle, and I thank him for that. You guys have any questions?
So you're choosing those last two. You talked about the mechanical something or the other.
Yeah.
And the other one is where you're going to apply to. I guess you apply, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I already applied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you determined what the career was. They both all sound interesting to me. So good for you.
Thank you.
So when you said you had a struggle that first quarter,
Yep.
was it a relief to you when you got into Pathways? Did you know about the program?
No, I
Okay.
didn't know about it. I didn't know who taught it. I didn't know anything.
So thanks to the teachers that recommended
Yeah.
that. And
Thanks.
so, Mr. Hughes, how does that work? If a teacher comes to
Teacher
you?
recommendation, I mean, it's typically, like I said, we should probably identify them at least by the first quarter, of kids who are typically struggling in classes, across the board. They do have a couple of different programs that they have, this year as well, so there's like a math support class that they do as well. So if they are in math support, they are not in Pathways. But basically, again, it's as simple as we get, and this is equal size, or again, this is one of the things I look at, we get an F list, of all the kids who are on the F list. And that's one of the things that I do. I look and see if these are kids who are habitually, freshmen who are habitually on the F list. I'll reach out to teachers and say, what's going on, what kind of student are they? Are they willing to work and they just don't get it, or they just don't care? If they don't care, typically, we don't look for those kids. We're looking for the kids who care about school. They just need a little extra help and support.
Congratulations on your grades, too.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a star. Maddie's a star. From her freshman year to now, I mean, she's always been one of the students that we've had in this program who, both of these two, have cared about about their grades. You won't see these two kids on the F list. These aren't the kids who are satisfied with having a couple missing assignments. They want to always get their work in. They want to get them 100% so he can get them a candy bar or something like that, or a ticket. But it's a great program again, and these are two success stories. Adrian's gone, but I know I taught Adrian in 6th grade, and just to see him grow as a young man, and actually he's a father now, to be able to be at the Career Center and doing his thing and working, raising a kid, it's awesome. So
Wonderful.
it's our program. Any other final thoughts or questions?
Well, we'd like to have the students introduce. I think you brought people along, so if you want to introduce who came with you, that would be great.
So, the man right there in the Ohio State hoodie, it's my father. He's done a lot for me, actually quite a lot, because growing up I wasn't in a good household. My mom didn't make great decisions with who she was with or what she did, and my dad fought for me basically my entire life. I never knew because it never showed. And once he finally got custody of me, I was thankful, obviously, to get out of the situation I was in. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of took it for granted that I was with him, because I was kind of pardon my language, but I was kind of an a-hole to him. I kind of still am, that's just But he's definitely helped me a lot, and this curriculum has helped me a lot. Mr. Hughes has helped me, as Evil Sizer, Mr. Evil Sizer, which I didn't even have him as a teacher. He taught my mom, and that's about the only reason why I know him.
Great. Well,
He's a
thank
great
you.
man.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate your support.
Thanks for having me.
And Maddie?
Maddie, who you got?
This is my mom. Her name is
Hi.
Amy. This is her boyfriend Lane. My
Hi.
mom, she is one of she's a woman and who is very strong. I'm very lucky to have her. She's been there for me through thick and thin and everything I've been through, and I definitely would not be the young woman I am today without her. She's done so much for me, my sisters, and just, we definitely wasn't easy growing up with just everything in general, just this crazy world that we live in. And Lane, I'm very thankful for him. He's definitely like a father to me. He treats my mother like a freaking princess. I love them both so much. I'm very thankful for them, and I wouldn't be here without them. And I'm so thankful for them.
Well, thank you
Glad
both
got
for
a moment
coming.
to speak too. He was excited.
Maddie's older sister also went through the program as well. What's Kaylee's doing?
She's doing
automotive.
automotive. And
Yes.
she is
Thriving.
doing amazing.
Yes, she's a completely, and again, I get to go up there every now and then and see them, and they come back, and just to see just the relief and the happiness and the excitement on their face to be able to go to the Career Center and actually do stuff like they want to actually do. You know what I mean? When you're in the school, again, there's that aspect, the stuff that you have to do, you know what I mean, to get your credits and state tests and all that, and the state curriculum, but when they actually get to go and do something and be the young adult that they actually want to be, it's completely awesome. I didn't know this was up here, but this is just kind of the breakdown of our schedule and what my day looks like. If it's blue, that's our Pathways program situation, and again, any of those periods that I am available, other than the 5th and the 7th period when I actually teach. But that blue is the Pathways. Again, the intervention period it's a study hall, but I would say right now we have about daily basis, half the kids are going to see one of their teachers to get extra intervention or extra help.
Well, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. I don't know if anybody has any more questions, but we really appreciate all the time you spent. What an amazing program. I have actually learned about it through Leadership Troy and other areas, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that we have these opportunities, and I know I've spoke to previous Mrs. Watson, and everybody raves about her and what she did, so previous teachers. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you, Mrs. Teacher, for keeping this baby growing, because I think it does make a huge difference in these students' lives, and we're very thankful that you all are dedicated to that task. And you are welcome to stay, but it continues to be riveting, so you can go.
Thanks, guys.
She's a guest counselor. You mean in the vest?
Yeah. She was sitting next to me.
I think so.
No.
She was the high school psychologist.
All right.
Thank you.
That's it.
High school
Kelly.
psychologist.
I was
Good
close.
here. Appreciate you
Same
being over
area.
here.
Same area. Same office area. Okay. Well, I don't know how you're going to follow that, Mr. Piper, but if you want to continue to scintillate us with policies, that would be great.
Well, these are unusually dull. So, and I don't know the best way to approach this, but there are quite a few policies. Most of them are very, very minor revisions. I'll read through them pretty quickly. If there's any questions along the way, feel free to stop me. But there's kind of a long list here. But again, feel free to stop me if there's anything in particular you want more information on. But again, it's kind of a long list. Bylaw 0100 just redefines personal communication devices. Bylaw 0142.1 just adds cross-references to other policies. Bylaw 0151, again, cross-references to other relevant bylaws. 0152 consolidates and aligns provisions in other policies. For example, 0155 and 0163 have some cross-references added. Bylaw 0165 consolidates content that was previously in 0165.1 and .2. That's why those two are rescinded. Yes, Mrs. Packer, I told you they're very dull.
Riveting.
I know. 0166 has just kind of renumbered and moved the executive session language. 0167 is that executive session language that's been renumbered. 0167.7 again redefines personal communication devices. 0173, I looked at it, it's just simply changing Mr. Price's title a bit for whatever reason. 2265 is a new one, and this is from legislative action from House Bill 214 regarding protection of individual beliefs, affiliations, ideals, or principles, or political movements, or ideology. So I'll let you read through that, but it just kind of protects students and staff's ability to think what they think and be who they are. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them.
So I had a question on this one, just a little, as there were a lot. I was reading through them, skimming through them, and I don't necessarily know how I feel one way or the other, so I just thought maybe we could talk about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
First off, I think individual beliefs is something that we absolutely should support.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder, like, what does this mean, and how far do these individual beliefs go in the classroom? And where does it draw the line of that you're an individual belief versus that now you're teaching your individual belief to the students?
That was my first question. Do you mean from the staff perspective then?
Yeah.
So this is what has been added to our policy is required to be added based on House Bill language. So, but there are several policies that cover kind of the do's and don'ts for staff. I think it's understanding that people have their ideologies, people have their beliefs, but for staff specifically, their job is to teach the content, not to pontificate about what they personally believe. So those protections are still there for our organization. So teachers don't just have full reign to say, here's all the things I think and why. Again, that's covered in several different policies, not just this one. But I'm reading through here. So we can't, for example, require people to ascribe to a certain belief when we hire them. We can't require students to do the same. We can't ask people to make statements or commitments about beliefs that we think are the ones they should have. Those are just prohibited for us to do. But again, the job of a teacher is to teach the content, not to pontificate. So we still don't allow that to happen. It shouldn't disrupt the educational environment.
When I read this, I read it wasn't so much a free speech
Right.
Policy. It's more the restrictions on the school system to require something of
Correct.
staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
What happens if, let's say someone is turned in for doing that?
For doing.
I guess selling their narrative, their beliefs, their political views. Like if a staff member was doing that in a classroom, what are the ramifications?
We make this joke all the time, but this one is really real. It becomes an HR problem. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what specifically happened, but we would investigate that thing, and based on the outcome of that investigation, we would take the necessary action. Again, depending on what it is, because that could be very, very broad.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How has this changed from what was in there before, I guess?
There was no policy specific with regard to
There
this.
was no policy.
This is a brand new one. Yeah. Again, based on this House Bill 214, sorry.
Okay, it's not a tweak, it's a, okay.
Good? Ish?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think everybody can believe whatever they want, so.
Yeah.
They should.
It's just reinforcing that, yeah. Policy 4120.08 requires, it just made some changes based on the state's new RAP back system.
New what?
RAP back system. It's a system that we are now, all employees are required to enter, correct me if I get anything wrong, Mr. Dilbone, that does criminal background checks, that kind of stuff, essentially. Right? Yeah.
It's above and beyond. We did background checks for all employees already. This is above and beyond and actually takes all of our employees into the same system that's used for teacher licensure. So it's actually an extra layer of protection. So bus drivers, custodians, people that have never been in that, well, bus drivers have been in there, the custodians, food service workers. So anyone that interacts with our students now has to also go through that process. Again, it's just an extra layer of protection for them.
Policy 5131 revises student transfer language that allows victims of abuse to transfer athletic eligibility if they transfer schools. That's based on House Bill 147.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to maybe look into this one and talk about this a little bit more as well, because a few months ago we talked about a student who doesn't go to Troy wanting to play a sport here. So how does this, and we said we have a policy for that. So I don't think this is that same policy, right?
I don't believe so.
Because I saw a lot of ads in here and what was auditions in green, but what's on here doesn't look like it would have matched up with what we talked about a few months ago. So how does this go into what we just discussed a few months ago, and are there any contradictions to another policy that we may have?
I don't think so. I can't recall if this is that same policy, if it was a different one for that particular instance. But I can tell you that this policy language just simply adds the specific subject of abuse. If they've been subjected to abuse, and that's why they transfer schools, then they're allowed to participate.
That's how I read it. It was like they made the transfer for whatever reason, and their athletic was able to do that. Versus in our case, the student was in their school. They didn't transfer schools. They wanted to just participate in another school from an athletic. So I thought it was the athletic followed the transfer.
Yeah.
That's how I read it. Because I questioned the same thing when I was reading it, to say, wait a minute, did we just violate our own thing? But that's how I read it, is they transferred to this different school because of their, whatever reason it was, and their athletic eligibility transferred with them.
Just specifically calls it out for that purpose, yeah.
So is this saying a student could leave Troy, go to Piqua, and then still play sports at Troy?
I thought it said, wait, I thought, and then their eligibility would be at Piqua. They would be able to participate in Piqua sports.
So this adds a lot of language. I wasn't looking.
Yeah,
I was
no,
looking.
let's just talk through it a little bit.
So again, it says the superintendent may grant any student, blah, 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 if the student was subject to any of the following by a school official, volunteer, or other student from the district or school in which the student was enrolled. If they were harassment, intimidation, bullying, qualifying offense, where someone is charged with, indicted, or pled guilty to committing a crime. So no, this would just allow, OHSAA has very strict eligibility requirements. This would allow a student to, in your scenario there, leave Troy, go to Piqua, and instantly be eligible.
At Piqua?
Yeah.
Versus if they weren't a victim of one of these circumstances here, they'd potentially have to sit out for some time.
It's the last 50% of the season.
Right.
Yeah.
If they transferred and didn't move there?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Or if it wasn't a bona fide move, there's a whole
Right.
slew of reasons for why they would have to sit out. But, yeah.
Yeah. It gives them an out for eligibility for that specific reason.
Yeah, but they're gonna play the sport at the school they're going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So it takes out the 50% of the season rule completely.
Yeah.
If this is the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. If this is the reason. 513601 is a result of the House Bill 29 language that impacted a lot of personal communication devices, electronic equipment, electronic monitoring, all that stuff. Very minor changes to that one. Attendance was revised due to House Bill 214. This one, schools are now required to permit 3 religious expression days. So if if a parent tells you that a child is absent from school for the purpose of religious expression, you must grant that absence, up to 3. And it's very broad in its definitions. 5500 student conduct has to do with adding artificial intelligence language to student conduct and academic honesty. 5780 student parents' rights was revised again due to House Bill 29. That's that one that we talked about a while back that added requirements for the school to communicate to parents and give 72 hours notice about monitoring and those kinds of things. That Senate Bill 29 language touches several policies here in our revision. 6220 just reordered the language basically of budget preparations. I think they just swapped paragraph placement for some reason. 6320 purchasing and bidding places the threshold now at $75,000, which will also be increased by 3% every year as determined by the Director of Commerce in Ohio. That's for competitive bidding thresholds. 6440 is vendor relations. Again, that's because of Senate Bill 29. We're required to have our vendor contracts include language about student privacy. 753001 redefines personal communication devices. So does 753002, 754003, 754004. 754009 is a new policy specifically about artificial intelligence. 8310 revised to note that educational support services data are not included as public records. And 9160 has to do with public attendance at school events. House Bill 147 requires us to accept cash for admission into athletic events and also requires us to have a different rate for students. And then there are several policies that are part of what we call EDGAR revisions, and those come directly from the Office of Management and Budget with regard to federal funds and how those are handled. Those policies are 1130, 3113, 4113, 6110, 6111, 6112, 6114, 6325, 6550, 7310, and 7540. All, again, just revised to make sure they reflect current federal requirements. Who's excited? It's a long list.
So this is our first reading, right?
First reading, and then we'll ask you to approve. So, again, you have access to the actual policy language. If you go in there and you have any questions that I can clarify further, feel free to let me know, and we'll just ask you to approve at our next board meeting.
Any questions now?
No more questions now. I bet there's a few I didn't get to, so I'll let you know if I have any.
That's fine.
Next, we have the first hearing of the public for anything on the agenda. Still no. Okay. Treasurer's report, consideration for the approval of the minutes of the regular scheduled meeting from Thursday, November 14th.
So moved.
Second.
Packard, and who's that? Fox. Mr. Fox, thank you. Just ready for that. Any questions? Not, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Packard?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mrs. Borchers?
Yes. Next, the financial report. Attached in Exhibit B are November 2024 SM2 schedule of revenues, expenditures, etc. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Packard.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Reddick.
Couple things we continue to track pretty well with the exception of medical claims. They did bump back up towards the end of last month. However, we did receive a large reinsurance check back, so hopefully we'll see another one to help offset that. So, but, there's a couple variances with revenue and personnel. It's just timing issues. It should level back out.
Any other comments? Any questions? No, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Packard?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Borchers?
Yes. Next, we have the then and now. The Ohio Revised Code provides that prior certification of funds by the fiscal officer was not obtained before the contract or order involving the expenditure of money. Then the fiscal officer may instead certify.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. Fox.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis.
We had one with the athletic department, one at Haywood, one at the high school, one with nurse, and one at the board office dealing with, I believe it was a language interpreter.
That's broken.
Any questions? No, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mrs. Packard?
Yes.
Mrs. Borchers?
Yes. Next, we have the resolution declaring the intention to proceed under the alternative tax document format provided under section of the revised code and refrain from the preparation of a tax budget for fiscal year 2026, and authorizing and directing the CFO of Troy Schools to prepare and submit to the Miami County Budget Commission such information as documents as necessary. So moved. Thank you, Mrs. Packard.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Reddick.
This is an annual resolution. The tax document will be brought to you at our organizational meeting in January for its approval. This new version more aligns with our system that we utilize, does not force us to recalculate in 6-month intervals like the old document did.
Any questions? If not, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Packard?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mrs. Borchers?
Yes. Next, we have the resolution declaring it necessary to levy a renewal tax and requesting the county auditor to certify matters in connection with the proposed tax levy.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. Fox.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Reddick.
This is the first step resolution asking for county auditor certification. The next step will be brought to you at our organizational meeting in January, asking for filing with the Board of Elections, and this is for the 5.9 mil operating levy renewal. It will be on the, anticipated being on the May primary ballot.
And this is the step to get the valuation.
This is to get the county auditor certification for millage and dollar value.
Any other questions?
No, I think this is in line with what we talked about a few months ago
Yes.
at the workshop.
Yes.
Yep.
and Putting this one on this time and a year from now, hopefully going with.
The 5.8, yes,
Yeah.
with the Hayner
Hayner's
renewal
going in the
sandwiched
fall.
in between.
Hayner will be fall.
Of the
Yes.
next year of
25.
85,
Yes.
or 25, 85, 25. All right, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Packard?
Yes.
Mrs. Borchers?
Yes. Next, we're moving to the superintendent's report, starting with the resolution accepting gifts to the Troy City School District and expressing the thanks of the Troy Board of Education.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Reddick. Thank you, Mrs. Davis. Mr. Piper?
From turkeys to gowns to thousands of dollars, we are very fortunate to have this part of our community for our kids, our programs, and our staff. This month is no exception. The dollar amounts for this month's donations are $3,577, and our fiscal year to date is $117,339.94. We ask for your approval.
Any questions? If not, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mrs. Packard?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mrs. Borchers?
Yes. Next is, on the agenda is establishing the date, time, and place for the January 2025 regular annual organizational meeting suggested at our 5:30 PM on Monday, January 13th, at our, what is normally our board meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Packard.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Any questions? Will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Packard?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mrs. Borchers?
Yes. Oops. Next, we have the consideration of the appointment of a president pro tempore. The board must name a person as president pro tempore to preside initially at the regular annual meeting on January 13th that we just approved. The select person must be continuing on the board. So, I
So
guess.
moved. Do we have to move? Do we have to?
Do we nominate or do we vote?
Yes.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, Mrs. Packard.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis.
Who are you?
I would like to nominate Mrs. Packard.
Need a second?
Please call the roll. Oh, sorry.
Mrs. Borchers?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mrs. Packard?
Yes.
Next, we have
So,
personnel.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Do we want to talk about the workshops, or do we want to maybe put those on the agenda for the
Yeah, I haven't
January
gotten
time
all the
once we get
votes,
some-
so I guess I'll
once
just
we
have
get
to
some
send that
feedback?
out
Yeah.
once I'm done, so we can put it on there for next year.
Okay. sounds good.
Your January date is a date that the district is closed.
Oh. Well, I think that's right. Let me look real quick, because I'm thinking that one didn't get voted. I think the February one was the most popular.
Or is that just seeking, okay.
Yeah.
We're not closed on
Just
January
sticking
13th, are we? Is that what you're saying?
January
just
something.
approved?
20th.
Oh,
Her survey.
oh, gotcha.
For the workshops.
Okay, yeah, so I will pass it, yeah, not everybody, I don't know, so did everybody, I mean, since we're talking about it, did everybody get, I sent a note with the doodle in it for you all to, I tried to get, to cover all the meetings. So if you would respond to that, or if you have problems with it, let me know.
I replied to a couple, but I didn't reply to any in May or June. I was potentially gonna ask if we could maybe pull that up to April or go to a different day than Mondays in May.
Yeah, I just
May or
randomly
June.
picked some Mondays.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So I didn't know the best way to communicate that, so if we
Okay.
wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, because the only date so far that everybody went for was the February 3rd date, so far as unanimous, except we're waiting for a couple more. But the rest of them, there's not unanimous. Or the other option is we decide at that workshop when the next workshop is, which if I mean, I'm indifferent right now.
I think we've done that previously as well.
Yeah, if it's easier for everybody, because obviously you're looking a year out. I don't know if it's easier to put it on your calendar and work around it, or I'm indifferent, I just.
I like scheduling one quarter and then the next,
Then do
that
it-
one, schedule the next one.
one.
Yeah, just looking that far out is kinda tough right now.
I think we have
Okay.
better insight into calendars.
Okay. Okay, so right now, I mean, I don't know, if February 3rd is kind of, what's so far, the one that everybody that voted, has voted for. So, if that helps.
So just, can set that date at the January meeting in case you need some more votes.
We can
and
put
then-
it on the calendar.
Yeah, we'll put it with the
Yeah.
regular board meeting calendar that we put together. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, moving on to the personnel, items that are in Exhibit E.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Mr. Reddick.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Packard. Mr. Dobo.
So pretty short agenda this month. The first page, those are all just non-renewals of our false board renewals. It's a standard practice. So, we do a non-renewal when we hire people back for the following fall. We do have a leave of absence. Sandra Ross is going to take some time off after the birth of her child. She's requesting unpaid child-rearing leave of absence. And we have a new custodian. We're excited about bringing on Stephanie Nichols. That position was open for a little while, so it took us some time to fill that. Those positions are really helpful. This one specifically, you see the word float there because her job is specifically to fill in where needed and when people are out. So custodians, it's very difficult to find subs on a day-to-day basis, and that's why we have these positions. So just make sure that our buildings stay in great shape, especially moving into the new facilities here in a few years. So those are the highlights. Any questions?
If not, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mrs. Packard?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mrs. Borchers?
Yes. Next, we have a second hearing of the public. Anything? Okay. So before we adjourn, we thought Ben and I might take a quick, a few minutes to kind of update everybody. There was a lot of activity at our last core team meeting. So let the churn begin is how we're at the time where we are starting to see budgets come through, and
Preliminary, very preliminary.
very preliminary. But like everything else, I think the challenge is that at every step of the way, you have to try to figure out what you can do to stay in budget. And even so, it's kind of, I don't know, you can certainly help me with my words, but for me, it was a little bit dizzying because they came up with a list of things that we could forego in order to stay within the budget. And then I asked, well, how firm are the numbers that are I don't know how many pages this is, but all these pages of numbers that we have, how firm are these numbers? Well, they're not real firm. They're all guesstimates, right? So you're kind of swagging it. So they could go up or down depending on as they learn more through the process. And then over time, we also have, we have a couple of, so we have the LFI, the locally funded initiatives, so they factor those in. We have another spreadsheet that talks about things that we have considered as for LFI dollars and an approximation of what those might cost. Plus, we obviously have a levy, bond levy funding, which is continuing to accrue interest. That's good news. So that interest is additional dollars that at some point is money we can incorporate in the appropriate place. And all of the people involved also have their contingency dollars, the architects, the constructions, et cetera. So there's contingency dollars. Obviously, as we hone in through the quoting process and the budgeting process, one would hope the numbers get more and more solid. So there's the schematic design that we're at now, and then there's DD, which is detailed design?
Design development.
Design development is the next phase.
Further refinement.
Construction drawings, basically.
Yeah, and then there's CMD, right? Is it the right letters? Where they have the
Oh,
real
guaranteed maximum pricing.
Yeah.
GMP,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
All these acronyms everybody's got. Obviously, it's not my forte. GMP is the final end where they really have the solid numbers. But here's what I've learned is like, so I'm going to give you an example. Like, for example, one of the things they said is limestone. I don't know if you remember the pictures of our schools, but there's nice, beautiful limestone trim that adds to the beauty and enhancement. Well, that costs money. So we could get, I'm going to make it money, $900,000 back if we didn't do limestone.
Per building.
Per building. But then it would look like basic brick, not good.
Sterile.
Not sterile. Sterile's a good word, buildings. However, you know, when we get to, we could use contingency dollars on that money and, you know, say, okay, well, let's use that. We decide that's where we're going to use that money. But you have to make sure there's also alternates. So all these things can become alternates. So things you consider. If you have dollars, you can spend these. But some of those things have to be in the design. So you have to make sure it's in the design. We spend the money for the design before you can put it in the alternate. What else? And I don't know.
Yeah, some things you can't add back later because it's a structural design
Yeah.
issue. They have to completely change architectural drawings in order to incorporate it. But basically, the way the process works is you get these preliminary budgets and you've got this total number, and that total number has probably, I think I calculated around 18% of in contingency money added in through various contingency buckets. And so those designs or that preliminary budget estimate is basically the buildings with everything we want in them, right? Pretty much, for the most part. And so then we have to pull out from that number the estimate things that we can just put in an alternate column, so they're individual pricing. So what you're doing is you're paring down that base bid, pulling things out of the scope, so the base bid falls within budget with all these contingencies still baked in. And then you have this list of alternates, and what the hope is, as you go along, that base bid, falls well within that budget range with plenty of contingency money, that then you can start shopping for the alternates and put stuff back in to the buildings, if that makes
As
any
the
sense.
construction detail
Mhm.
starts filtering in, giving contractors more and more information to fine tune and
Mhm.
shrink their overall
Yep.
budget estimates for our project, and allowing us to do what we would really like to
Anybody
do.
who-
Yes.
Anybody who's done a budget knows
Yes.
that you make it bigger, right, so you make sure you cover everything, but then once you know more, you can hone in.
Yeah.
A lot of times it can become smaller.
I think the one we went through, it had a total of $4 million of contingency dollars baked into the estimate. So that $4 million isn't applied to any, that's an added expense on the project, not necessarily applied to any scope item, if that makes any sense. It's, the preliminary budget for the construction is, I'm just gonna make it up, it's $20 million. So we're gonna add $4 million to that, and that's the total preliminary budget. So it's not necessarily cost of an object, it's just extra dollars just in case there's overages type of thing.
So for preliminary budgets, do we have to say, this is what we absolutely want?
We have to get it
And then all
in
of this other
budget
stuff goes over
to-
here.
To proceed, we have to it has to fall within the budget of the buildings to be able to proceed to the next step. So we have to basically tell the architect and the builder how to structure the design to say these items are gonna be an alternate item. So when people are bidding it, they'll bid the base bid, and if the schools decide they want to do pavers at the front entryway, what additional cost are those pavers in the front entryway? And then we could elect to have the pavers put in, or that's just, I just
Which the
made that
pavers
up.
doesn't have to be designed, that's a good example, right?
Mhm,
So you
yeah.
can put that as an alternate because it doesn't have to be in the design.
Yeah.
Versus the limestone is part of the design, so you have to try to come up with something
Mhm.
that, some happy medium that you can at least pare it down for this phase, and then you could still put it in the alternate, like that's what architects are saying, okay, well, I'll give you option 1 and 2, and we can still we can put this in the design, and this is an alternate, and we'd still be okay putting
Mhm.
that in if we decide to pick that as a
Yeah.
one. But like, there's windows in the gym, well, we're like, well, we don't wanna remove all the windows in the gym. I mean, maybe we could remove the ones in the back, but they have a cost, right? So we say, okay, well, we'll do the ones on the side, maybe not the ones in the back. I mean, they also talked about removing them in the dining hall. I'm like, well, we don't wanna remove the windows in the dining hall, that's just, maybe we make them smaller, I don't
Mhm.
know, I mean.
But I would
crazy.
say, because I was it stinks when you get these spreadsheets and you're over budget on the total preliminary thing. But, just look to, the state and the architects and the builders weren't, I'd say, they were concerned, we've got to get to the base bid so it's under budget so we can keep proceeding. But they really weren't losing their mind of where we were at, which was my concern. Are we in a unique situation here where we're over budget and that you normally don't have that? And they're saying this is actually pretty normal for this spot.
And the amount we're over budget isn't concerning. I mean, it's concerning that we're over budget, but still, it's not like, oh my gosh, you have to cut so much stuff. I mean, there's things like the windows is an example, or some things. But I think to me, the challenge is that fine line about what has to be designed in versus what we can just push over and that we could push back. So it's a little tricky. That's a little tricky part. But it's definitely a moving, and that was just for north and east that we looked at. We're
Mhm.
still in.
And in our situation, since we are staggering 2 and 2, south and west, their initial estimate is due at the end of December, and they are going to incorporate some of the decisions that we made in that meeting, some of the changes in those initial estimates and design, just to double check, make sure we're saving what we anticipate or if it's more, then that helps us
Mhm.
budget-wise. So it'll be a contractor check,
Yeah.
basically.
So,
As far as
you know,
pricing.
if you look at it big picture, and you multiply it by 4, there's probably close to $16 million in contingency money. That we'll burn some of it just in expensive sites to develop, bids will come in over budget on some things, over estimate. So we'll use some of it, but that's a big number.
And then we haven't factored in like our interest
Interest.
money too, that we're
Right.
gonna have, we'll have to,
But all those extra pots of money are not available on day
Right.
one.
that's the problem.
We need to maintain percentages throughout the
Mhm.
project in case of unexpected items.
And I
So
think
those dollars get freed up in segments
In
throughout
the
the project.
state's portion, the contingencies that they have and the co-funded, we don't get to take unused contingency money from the state and apply it to another. I don't think we're allowed to move it to a different building, are we?
Correct.
Right.
We can use our own contingency funds, but
Wherever,
not
but not the
theirs.
state's, yes.
But you can't use the contingency
anywhere.
funds for the new schools for the high school, or vice versa. They're also
Correct,
two separate
yeah, the high school's
projects.
totally locally
Correct.
funded,
Right.
so.
So it's, makes your head spin.
But it, like I said, being a numbers guy, you'd appreciate it. I chew on this for a while and I went, okay. I'm not freaking out as much as I was when I first saw those spreadsheets.
What was interesting, you said the funds, the contingency funds can't move from building to building?
Only
Because that's what I was
the,
trying to-
only
Only the
the
state.
portion that the state has, because there's all these different buckets of contingencies. It's what we have set aside from our funds as contingency bucket. What the state has requirements that they have to set aside that we can't adjust. In theory, we can adjust what our contingencies are to get us into a budget range. The state cannot touch their contingency buckets. They have to be what they are. And then those get drawn down on a co-funded level. So, in other words, my example of, say, one building has $4 million of contingency money, the state might have, their total bucket might be, 1.5 of that 4? Would you agree with that, maybe? Because the builder has contingency.
Between 1.5, yeah.
Yeah, so let's just say it's 1.5, and when we, in our shares, whatever it is, when we co-fund and bring it down, and they've got, $500,000 left in their co-funded bucket, we can't take that 500 and use it somewhere else. But whatever's left in our bucket, we can.
But in the end, you get that back, right?
Eventually, not initially.
Correct.
Because we need to get to a point where we're pretty certain at that location, we're good.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it can be shifted.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the state's money just stays at that location.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, but eventually it still becomes a pot we can pull out of, just later on down in the cycle.
If it's a co-funded issue at
True,
another site.
True, that's true.
It's
Wow.
So what are the timelines right now that they're asking? Are they asking for decisions today?
Well, they were, but we kind of gave them
We
some
got
more.
I'd say 90% there. There was one big engineering item they had to go look at, and that was the slope of the roofs. Right now, on the elementary buildings, they kind of slope into interior drains, and there's a piping system inside the buildings. And so, it's expensive, and it's a maintenance item too. So we asked them to.
sent something on that. I didn't read it.
I did. I read it while they were walking out.
Yeah,
We
so
just
do I.
got it. So he said that initially they think that they can't. What they would do is they'll single slope those roofs toward the back. So you still have that parapet looking wall on the front and the sides, but it'll single slope to the back, and you don't have to have that internal piping system. And that should shave a couple $100,000 in itself. So that's a good thing, I guess.
Yep, because architects were not certain that that would work, but
Well, and I'll say, we're working with a very good set of architects.
yes.
Architects by their nature, that these buildings are their babies too. That's just how they think, and they want that baby. They want everything that's in that baby.
Yep.
And so if they had their way, they would just say, school board, just give us more money, and we'll do that. So,
Well, and I do think what he said, I mean, we have the contingency, we have interest, so I think there's money, it's just figuring out how to, I'm not saying there's not gonna be things that come up, because I don't wanna be that naive. I mean, things will come up and pare away at the contingency. But I feel like some of the things that we put in the alternate, that we have a pretty good chance of getting it back, or we've thought about, like, I'm gonna talk about playground equipment as a good example, you know. I think we have other places that we can use other resources in Troy, or, you know, raise revenue. I mean, things that people go, oh, I want this type of swing or this type of play equipment or whatever, that you could, you know, you can put a feeling on it that people will step up to the plate and help us for some things, but.
and we even had the option to say, remember, we approved adding square footage to the buildings. We even had the option to nix that and go back to the original square footage, and we said, nah, we're not doing that. We need that square footage. We already approved it. Let's leave it there. We're pretty confident we'll be fine.
Right.
Well, that's what I was gonna bring up is the plan still that, the buildings are gonna be as close to mirror images of each other as possible
Yes.
with the exception of one having some
A
extra.
little bit bigger, yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit bigger.
So I guess that's what, does that create an issue, like if we're doing, you know, 2 at a time and then 2 more at a time and it's all separate?
It actually helps because it's a manpower thing. If we were doing 4 buildings at one time, it would be a nightmare to get enough
Yeah.
construction crews on all 4 buildings at one time.
But we are, the things like you said, we decide in one, we're applying to the other. So that's.
It's stressful.
The things that we're just looking at for one, we're just rolling it down to the others. What's interesting though is like the 5-6 building is big, and there's probably more room in there than we wouldn't, I don't even know if we'll use. I mean, sadly, but we can't, like, could we take some space there and use that
But
for
the
the
state
other
decides
buildings?
that.
But you can't. The state says, no, this is what the square footage has to be.
So you have no authority or power to move that
Right.
square footage from building to building if you have access?
Right.
Yeah, and
'Cause the
rooms
state
have
says
to be
you've got
room
these
size, there has
grades.
to be
Yeah.
so many different rooms, and
It's
that's all the
frustrating.
conditions
That's
of getting state money for these projects.
Right.
Gotta
Follow the rules.
Their rules.
follow their rules.
And there's even, I don't know, if they designate a room as X, then it has to be this shape and do this thing, you know. If you designate it as Y, that maybe, you know, it's crazy how strict everything is. And like, well, can't we make that smaller? No, because it's a music room and it has to have this, and this, you know. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I would just encourage that the buildings can stay as mirror images of each other as possible. That way, there isn't a better building
No.
in one part of town
Yeah.
over the
Nobody wants to deal
others.
with that.
So,
Yep.
But
if
they
you got
are
to cut, if you get to add, make sure that it can go to all of them.
Yep.
If it's window sizes, if it's number of windows,
Everything.
whatever it is, like
Everything.
keep
Yeah.
them.
But one
keep them
building
similar.
does have more students, so there is a touch more room in that building because of how they divide it up. And we don't have any control over that either.
You mean the 5-6 building, right?
No.
No, one in the
No,
elementaries.
one of the pre-K 4s is,
And
Yeah.
you're right, and I think a lot of the things we were looking at is, we don't even need this, we can pare this down, you know, in
One
terms of
classroom.
all the windows being
Two
operable.
essentially.
We don't need all the windows to be operable, just, you know, change that scope of work and apply it. all
But
the way
in,
across.
I'm not saying no one's thought of this, but I wouldn't want one room to have all operable windows and one
No.
to
No.
have
That
not
won't
any,
happen.
and all of a sudden there's
Yeah, it's
unhappy
gonna be-
teachers in each
It's like
room.
one per
you know.
room, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
yep,
as equal as we can for these type of things.
Yeah.
And my opinion would be if we can gain some additional square footage, if it comes to that, and you have to cut out some of the pretty stuff, like I'd rather not lose square footage I'd rather have a more basic looking building, the size that we need with the amount of classrooms that we
It's the
need,
approach we've taken.
as
Yeah.
opposed to a prettier building that all of a
That is
sudden
true.
we're gonna have to add on to in 10 years, and then it doesn't become as pretty looking anymore.
Right.
And we gotta
s-
find funds.
Didn't we say that at one meeting? It's like the bare minimum of, I mean, we are keeping it very simple.
It's very simple. I mean,
Like, there's no extra
no,
bells and
It's not
whistles.
fancy.
Right.
yeah, it's every classroom, except for the ones, like, I think kindergarten classrooms are bigger because of kindergarten or
Right.
whatever.
It's design made.
There, but if, I
Yep.
think first, second, third, fourth, they're all the same size, right? I mean, so if we end up having a big third grade class and a smaller first grade class, we can adjust rooms without, pretty transparently.
What are these images of the basketball courts? Maybe I missed something. These were sent out.
I sent it out, but honestly didn't even look at it. Did anybody look at the
Is that a
Just
particular
showing
reason?
basketball
Just-
court lines, volleyball court lines.
There's no concern, it's just
No.
sent.
No.
Except they call the backboards backstops. I was like, oh, you guys put 3 backstops in each school, we only need 1. Perfect, we just saved some money.
Are the gyms and the gym sizes, I mean.
The middle school gym is larger.
Okay, that's the two different.
And
It will have
wood
Yeah,
floor.
those are the ones with the volleyball.
And it has wood floor versus the other ones don't have wood floors.
The middle school will be regulation, 84 is the regulation for high school, 84 feet, I should say.
Okay, yeah, I'm just thinking of, Little League, community events.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that these
For that
courts are the
purpose,
size
yeah.
that, we can.
For those purposes, they'll all be nice gyms, but the middle school gym will be high school regulation size.
Yeah, it'd be more for like competition stuff can be happening at the middle school, but with practices and things can be at all of them.
Did, obviously you guys are a lot closer than me, so I've probably heard this before, but when you're designing these, are they the gyms in an area that can be locked off for
Yep.
evening practices without
Yep.
having to
Mhm.
have that
Yeah,
additional?
custodial, kitchen, cafeteria, and gym are all
In the
one
separate
block
one.
by itself.
So these will be more usable by the community after hours than what our current
Yes,
buildings are.
And they have a
Rest of the building
dedicated
can be
entry
shut
that's
down and
nice,
blocked
you know,
off.
sort of a nice dedicated entry off the
With
courtyard.
restrooms.
Okay, yeah, so those things I think are important
Yep.
to stay, no matter, and not give in, give up if we have to cut things.
Right.
No, they did design them really nicely that way, because you can basically shut off that, so all your classrooms and everything can be locked up, so you don't have to worry about people wandering the hallways and getting into things they shouldn't get into. They
Right,
can
yeah,
stay.
because that was part of the campaign, was these buildings will be able to be used
Yeah.
by the community, the baseball fields will be used by the community, so I wanna make sure we live up to those
Yeah.
important aspects of it.
I think they'll be very pleasantly surprised, and even like where the kitchen is, I mean, you could technically use that by the community as well, where the dining room is, because it's basketball, dining room, and then mechanical, but the dining room you could cut off to not have access to the kitchen, but it'll be nice if they need to use that
Meetings
for
or
whatever.
That's what-
Like
Meetings
space for
or what
meetings
have you,
or that
yeah.
type of thing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, I guess if there's, appreciate the update here, if there's other big things or, little things I trust the team on, but if there's big decisions, please get it in front of us, other board members as
Sure.
well.
Yep.
As
Yeah,
early as
and I
possible.
will commend the design committee that Chris put together. I mean, I think some of you sat through the meetings. They're doing a really nice job of writing great feedback. So it's nice to have practical feedback from folks that use it every day, basically. So they're doing a wonderful job and have some great ideas. So, yeah, I think they're a definite asset as we go forward.
I do think these live updates are helpful too, like for us not going, these, like, to make sure heads all these numbers, you get these emails, but it's like, okay, that's not telling me much.
Yeah, right.
It's a lot.
So to hear it come from people, and then not only that, but these recorded, you can say to people in the community, okay, that's a big deal to say, okay, well, the reason, this amount of money is in this bucket and this amount of money is in this bucket, and we can't transfer it to this school, and why did this school look like this? We can go back and say, well, this is why, and they've got their facts, versus us just reading them buried in an email, because this is more about the public knowing. I mean, we trust you guys, but this is more about the public knowing and understanding
Yeah.
why things are done the way they are.
There's just so much covered. Every time I sit in the meeting, I keep trying to find ways to like summarize it, but
Right.
it's,
They're 2 hours and it's just,
and this last
well,
one
the
was
last
three
one was
and a half
3.5,
hours.
yeah.
And so I'm like, Ben and I walked out like, how do you communicate this? It's like, I'm not a building expert. Ben, thank God, has been a tremendous asset because this is his area of expertise and he's challenged a lot, which is wonderful, to have that expertise and ask these questions. Most of it's just like with my head. But I try to, get an understanding of what they're saying. And every time you think you get it, but but you can't do that. Well, but you really can't do that. It's just so many rules. It's like, yeah. But we do have a great team. I mean, that I've seen. They all work together and are trying to do that. I don't know if the rubber's hit the road yet, but from what I've seen, it's pretty
Peterson
collaborative.
is also in the process of bringing potential contractors through this facility, looking at the job. Now that we have the corridors open, they can put eyes on our project and actually walk through and see what they're dealing with. A lot of good feedback. I think they've had 3 potential contractors looking at bidding this job, walk through it with a couple more later this week coming through. But I think based upon Peterson's earlier discussions with those contractors, they have a better understanding and probably gave them inflated numbers as a result of not knowing and being able to put eyes on until now. So we'll start to see.
So what did they go through?
There were 2 or 3 contractors that came through last week
Okay.
with another couple this week.
Okay,
So,
yeah, that's good.
yeah,
That's good.
large enough contractors that
Mhm.
can handle the job.
Mhm.
They've had
Yeah,
experience with.
because early on, anybody that's estimating anything, subcontractors or even Peterson on some of their stuff, they tend to hedge high. It doesn't mean they won't miss anything, but they tend to hedge high because you'd rather miss high than be way under, and you've got
Right.
money to make up. So they'd rather miss high. So you tend to have higher numbers this stage of the game.
Yeah, there's not a lot of internal detail where we currently sit
Mhm.
with our design. That's all to come over the next 2 to 3 months, so.
Yeah, there's a certain level of confidence that as the design gets more concrete and suppliers and subcontractors can start, they know more precisely what they're bidding, that those numbers will get sharpened down.
Is there any incentive for the contractors to come in under budget?
I mean,
I don't know.
There is with Peterson, because it's a CMR.
Mhm.
They're responsible for delivering
yeah,
us our end product within the maximum budget dollar. So anything outside of contingency that they're able to cut off, that goes into their profit line, potentially. Outside of contingency.
well, they're a
Contingency comes back.
cost plus.
For them,
Yes.
but
Yeah, it's a cost plus.
I mean, it's up to them, because they will have the contracts with the individual contractors. They are responsible.
Mhm.
yeah, say it was $100 million and it comes in at 98 million. Peterson gets the $2 million under budget, or do we pay them?
No, we get that back. Yeah, we get it.
Depends on
Well, yeah.
if the contingency's
Mhm.
part of that or it's not.
Mhm.
If the construction budget is 100 million and contingency is another 2 to 3 million on top of that, and it comes in for 98, then the 2 million from 98 to 100 is Peterson's. We get the contingency back if it's not used for anything.
Yeah. Part of why they can't or they will not release contingency funds at whenever you want them, they're connected to or related to construction costs and construction risks.
Right.
So that money's sitting there and you're thinking, maybe we'll get some of that, but it's a bit of an unknown at this stage, which
Right.
we hope will.
Yep,
Yeah,
we're
but
still
districts
early in the
can't
game.
Wind up $10 million over budget, and they don't have the capital, to make up that difference, and what do you do? What do you do then?
The contingencies that coming out of the total budget we've got approved for from the levy, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
You're just designating some of it as locked in and some of
Yep.
it as contingency.
Yes.
So in your example of like 100, Peterson could come in and say, we're estimating the project to be at 80 million, and the state goes, okay, we're gonna put $10 million of contingencies in there for ourselves, and we recommend the school does 10 for themselves too, or a combination of the school and the builder and the architect, and that's how you get to the 100. The bids themselves might not be there at the moment. That's where we're at right now.
It's a bit complicated.
It's a puzzle.
And what I would suggest, I'm looking at Teresa and Sarah Levi. As Sue mentioned, it can be a lot in those meetings. Mike runs a sharp meeting.
Yes.
He does.
Sharp meeting.
He does.
But if you guys ever have any questions about whether it's drawings, as you referenced, or even some of these kind of things, I'd schedule a time with either Ben or Sue or Jeff and Chris and just walk through some of these things. It can be a lot, even when you're sitting there.
Yep.
It can be a lot. So I would ask, reach out and ask those questions if you felt you missed any.
And we can shoot Rich Lee, we can shoot Mike questions.
Yeah,
if we have
Rich Lee
them.
has offered to come
So.
also too, if you needed to have a conversation with them, that's possible. Because they were gonna come periodically, I'm not
Right.
sure when their next visit was supposed to be.
Whenever you want them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up to you guys, but
But it's
I would
helpful to
probably
have
suggest sometime between SD and DD.
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's helpful to have some
Yeah.
discussion points for them to cover, so that they're not just winging it out there.
Yeah, there's no sense in having them come and not tell us anything.
Right.
This type of,
Right.
when there's changes and we're having this type of
We need to get
conversation.
a little bit further.
Yeah,
but-
that'd be fine, but
Yeah.
if there's no changes, like no sense in
Yeah.
having them yet.
Right.
So timeline wise, when are we gonna start seeing, when will the community start seeing dirt being moved, things?
Not till weather breaks. We're talking about early
April.
site package for all 4 sites, 2 and 2, slightly staggered. So potentially, same contractor can work all 4 sites. They can do 2, move, and do the other 2. The south and west has a lot more site work than north and east to accomplish, but as soon as weather breaks,
I think they
that will
forecasted
begin.
March.
Starting in north and east.
Yeah.
is the
March,
first
April, right?
Yeah,
Start seeing fencing and construction access. And
yeah, leading up to that, so, yep.
Yeah, well, that's exciting times for the community, so I'm sure we'll,
And I want to add
notify
too,
them and make a big deal about a fence going up for the first time,
Right.
type of
Yeah.
thing, because
Well,
it's exciting to see
and-
the project starting.
shovel.
Peterson will want to have kind of a neighborhood kickoff meeting, both at the north and east side for neighbors, just to give them a heads up, this is what we're doing,
Okay,
and how
yeah.
we're going about it, and all that too.
We're gonna
So,
do it, a month out before we start.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no
Yeah.
one's. so-
At least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, perfect.
Yep.
I want to say Hobart Welding School has been tremendous. They're letting us use the corner of their parking lot for parking. We're probably going to be using some of the dirt that they own around Hook for staging of equipment and materials and things like that, so.
Yeah.
It's a good partner.
Yeah, it's a tight
that's
site.
gonna- It's
Yeah.
tight.
To
Very tight.
operate while under construction, we need other spaces.
And that the fact that they were more than willing to
Yep.
accommodate is,
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
thank goodness.
Are they gonna close down that bike path behind Hook?
No,
Okay.
nope.
There may be some temporary closings while it was.
I mean, depending upon,
Construction,
yes. Ma-
but no, ultimately.
It may
it's
be
safe.
closed for a day or two while we're doing something
Yeah,
heavy, in the
Yeah,
area.
but not for a long period.
Yeah, not for long periods of time, no.
And our site goes right up to it.
Yes, it does.
So,
Okay, well, thanks for,
Oh, sure.
thanks for this
Any
update.
other-
Yeah, it's every
Question?
couple months or big,
Yeah.
big things.
well,
Well,
yeah,
I
these
think
next
that
2
all-
months, there'll be big things
Yeah,
happen,
we'll
so
have-
we'll probably
a
have
lot.
more for you at the next
Yeah.
meeting too.
A lot going on now.
That's
The
a lot
rubber's
for
hit the
you guys.
road.
Mhm.
All right, no more discussion. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Fox and Mr. Reddick. Mr. Price?
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Packard?
Yes.
Mrs. Borchers?
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.